Good afternoon, guys. Welcome to Jake the Snake. And this is my first time doing a podcast, so give me a little bit of a break, I would hope. Um, Today is August 20th, 2018, and I'm going to go over a few different categories that I find enjoyable or interesting things that I heard this week or this past week in the news while I was checking it out. So first off, we'll start with some sports. So on Friday, last Friday that is, um, the sports books opened in the Hard Rock, Boomtown, and Hollywood Casino. Harris Casino says they're next and that they want to additionally add some sports gambling, but there's only a handful of states right now that are actually legally allowed to sports bet. Um, I'm kind of confused on that actually. Gambling is a huge income all across the states for tax purposes, and it generates a lot of revenue and takes a lot of money from most people when you go to the casino. So I'm confused why they don't allow sports betting or haven't allowed it legally at least since ever basically. Uh, I think it should be legal in probably all 50 states. I don't see why not. If you can go play blackjack or roulette, why can't you go play $10 on Boston to win by three? Um, I'm kind of confused at what's holding the other states back. I was trying to do a little research, but I really couldn't find anything in depth, at least, to explain more or less why this state is doing it and this other state doesn't want to do it. It's just kind of mind blowing to me. It could be such a huge revenue generator to increase the funding in a lot of states, more or less. And sure, it's going to draw more people to the casino, so more people are going to be spending more money. It only makes sense to me. Um, the next topic, so we got the Little League World Series going on right now. These kids are crazy good. I was watching a few highlight reels the past few days, and it's insane. These young kids are so talented at such an early state in life. Um, my big issue with the Little League World Series, though, and baseball in general, is why do we allow them to use metal bats all the way up until they get to the MLB? Why shouldn't they use wooden bats from day one and practice that way so that all the way through every step they gradually are learning that this is the way that things need to be done. Um, on that same topic, um, I think that really makes a big difference too. It would really change the game. Um, when kids are younger, I don't think they would be hitting as many home runs. Maybe in the World Series, you'd still have those true athletes who selective few are going to hit that home run. But I think it would be a lot less likely if you put everyone to the wooden bat game. And in my opinion, if you're in the Little League World Series, you basically have a knowledge that you're very talented already at such a young age. Why would you not want to already prep yourself for when you make it to that next level so you're already a step ahead and don't have to change your swing rotation or your pivot or anything to that aspect? Um, so my favorite team is Green Bay. We're gonna move on to some football. Um, Over the past couple weeks, clearly it's only preseason, and the preseason doesn't really count, but people are gonna do pretty much decently, and you can see kind of the way things are going to change and way things are going to play out just from seeing players in the preseason. So a few big moves that the Packers announced were they signed the running back, excuse me, LaShawn Daniels, and they replaced Akeem Judd. They put him to the reserve retired list and announced that Daniels will be starting during the regular season now. He's 5'11", 222 pounds. He's not too much bigger or smaller than the past running backs they've had. That's about the size of every running back they've had since I could remember, at least. Back to even Amon Green, they were all about that size. Hopefully he really starts to produce. Um, they stated that he is going to be number 46, so that's kind of cool. Um, on to the Justin McCray status. Um, he only sustained a minor calf contusion, even though it might have seemed like it was a lot worse during the actual gameplay. Along with that, Packers wide receiver Jake avoided a serious shoulder injury. It's just a sprained SC joint, and it should heal relatively quickly. Is what everyone is saying right now. Um, they really hope that he comes back strong. He has been a great addition to the team, and he's been doing pretty well so far. Along with that, we've got let's see. We've got the tight end game that they've got. Their tight ends are doing phenomenal this year so far. That's a big point that they always use on that third down. They always like to throw that little tight end slant or that tight end 5 and out, or that tight end go route right down the middle, just to get that quick 3, 5, 10 yards and try to let them make a play. And so far this year, their tight ends have 9 catches for 106 yards and 2 touchdowns. Along with that, they are 2-0, and they do play this Thursday against the Raiders. It should be interesting. The Pack's always decent in preseason, but you know preseason doesn't always determine completely how the season's going to turn out. I was also reading how they were saying that Aaron Rodgers should become the greatest paid athlete of all time in the NFL, or the highest paid, not greatest, I guess I should say. I don't mind that, but my thing is, I think athletes get paid way, way, way too much money in the first place. You shouldn't be paying someone that plays a game. Yes, it does take training. It does take a lot of skill. It takes practice and work, and it is a job. But I still don't believe that athletes should get paid as much as they do. We could be using all the profit that they get paid. If you cut their salaries down by a fourth and took all that money and started foundations for the homeless, for weather survivor victims, you could start food houses or food pantries. And there's just so many more things that we could be doing, helping our veterans with all that money that they really don't need. I mean, why do you need $50 million? You only spend about $1 million to $2 million a year. What's the point of really saying that, hey, I've got a bank account with $50 million? What's the point if you're not even using the money? But not to get too much into the political side of sports. But now we're going to move on to a little bit of politics. So this past week, 60 former CIA officials warned President Trump that the country will be weakened if there is a political litmus test appealed before seasoned experts are allowed to share their views. So basically, the CIA believes that it's critical to protect classified information from unauthorized disclosure, but reading the statements from the former CIA officials, they believe equally that the former government officials should be able to speak out about the information that they have that's unclassified, and they shouldn't have to worry about facing precautions or being punished due to the fact that they're speaking about topics that may not be open to everybody. The president said after that fact that he's thinking about maybe even revoking some of the security clearances from other officials in the White House or other staff rankings. So, what do I think on this topic? Should we take away the clearance from some of these people? Yes, I think that we should definitely take away some of the clearance from the people. Not all of the people, but I don't think all of the people in the White House that have clearance really need to know everything. And if that many people know, and if they're not going to take it away, I think they should spread the clearance so that more people are aware of what's really going on and what's affecting our society daily and the world around us. I also don't think that people should be punished for speaking out, whether it's classified or unclassified information, to an extent with classified, but I still don't think that people should be punished for speaking the truth. The Second Amendment says we have the freedom of speech. So why are people being punished for telling the truth about our country or our government? It doesn't make sense to me. I mean, it's clear that we have plenty of secrets that we don't want people knowing, but that's just like going against our original Declaration of Independence. We're kind of being hypocrites to the maximum. Well, not we, the government. So that's a really interesting topic in political news right now. Food and meals. So every week I plan to do about 3 of these podcasts, and in each podcast there will be a food section, and I plan to give you guys at least one recipe, maybe 2, just depends. I'm going to give you one recipe that I have personally had and tried, and then if I find one that I think looks delicious and I want to attempt to make, I'm going to add that one to the list also, so that maybe some of you guys can try it and let me know your opinions too. So this week, one that I've tried is zucchini cheese bread, and it was delicious. The ingredients are 3 medium zucchini, 2 large eggs, 2 cloves of garlic, a half tablespoon of dry oregano, 3 cups shredded mozzarella, a half cup freshly grated Parmesan, a 1/4 cup cornstarch, kosher salt, freshly ground black pepper, a pinch of red pepper, 2 tablespoons of fresh chopped parsley, and some marinara to dip it in, of course. So you preheat your oven to 425, and you shred up all your zucchini in your grinder, put it in a bowl, and then you add in your eggs, garlic, oregano, 1 cup of mozzarella, Parmesan, cornstarch, salt, pepper, and you stir that until it's all combined. Then you take your bowl and you dump that onto your pre-sealed pan, and you spread it flat so it's almost like a pizza crust. And then you take that and you bake it for 25 minutes in the oven. When it comes out, it's going to be decently crispy but not too firm. And that's when you're going to take the rest of your mozzarella and spread that over the top of all of it. And then you put it back in the oven for about 8 more minutes. You pull it out, and you've got a whole cookie sheet of zucchini cheese bread. And you just cut it up into your little squares, or however you choose to cut it. Anyone can cut it any different way. I mean, it just depends what you like. So you cut it up and you heat up your marinara a little bit, and you have a delicious side dish. Honestly, I used it for a whole meal. I just ate the whole pan. I don't suggest that. It's not as healthy when you eat the whole pan, but it's a healthy alternative to, instead of making garlic bread or cheese bread, and it has a lot less carbs. So it really kind of benefits you a little bit. It's not the healthiest health craze, but it is healthier than your average bread. I would, though, the recipe doesn't call for it. Just a little mix up I would like to add in there next time I do it is I would add some bacon bits on top, and maybe some onions and peppers chopped up also, just to give it a little more pizzazz and some flavor to it. So that's that recipe. And now here's one that I haven't tried yet, but it looked delicious. I'm going to tell you. I'll make sure I add it to the end of the segment so you guys can see what it looks like. But it's baked salmon, and it's a soy sauce marinade with honey. So you need 1 salmon fillet, a half cup of soy sauce, a fourth cup of honey, a fourth cup of orange juice, 4 cloves of minced garlic, a teaspoon of ground ginger, and a fourth teaspoon of red pepper flakes. You start out by removing all the bones, if there are any, in your salmon, and put that in a plastic bag. Then you take a small little bowl and get your little whisk, and you add your soy sauce, your honey, your orange juice, your garlic, your ginger, your pepper flakes, and you stir all that up. Then you dump that in your Ziploc or resealable bag with your salmon in it, and you let that sit for about 30 minutes to an hour or longer if you have the time, if you're ahead of the game or prepared. And in that sense, it'll absorb more of the flavor, and you'll really taste it when you bake it, and it'll keep it moist. Then you need to, depending on how you want to cook your salmon, I guess I should say, you can cook it on the stovetop, or you can do it in the oven. I prefer the oven because it's a lot less messy, and it's not way, I think, I'd say it's a little bit better. Not way better, just a little bit. It keeps the fish moist, instead of when you cook it in a skillet, if you don't have quite enough marinade, it will kind of dry out your fillet, or if you overcook it by just a little bit, it really will affect the flavor and the taste. So you have to be careful. But if you're going to do it in the oven like I suggest, you got to do it at 375, and you're going to put it on some tin foil and a cookie sheet, and you want to cook it for about 15 to 20 minutes. I would say somewhere in between. You want to wait till it like almost falls apart, but you don't want to get it too done. So you want to make sure you're really keeping an eye on it when it starts to get close. On that topic, I really don't eat a lot of fish. I just actually became a fan of eating fish, cod, and I rarely eat salmon, but sometimes I do. I think that it's a good alternative when you're trying to eat some healthy foods. If you get tired of eating your plain old chicken, steak, pork chops, it's a good switch to put in there, and it really has a lot of protein in it. It has one of the highest protein counts. You just have to be careful with your marinades or your garlic slash butter mixes that you're putting on it, because that's where clearly your calories are coming in. So That's the second recipe. I plan to try that hopefully sometime this week, and once I do, I'll let you guys know how that turned out, or if you guys try it before me, post on the status below and let me know what you thought of it. So 8 months in, and it appears that Yellowstone, the TV show, starring Kevin Costner, the head of a ranching family jockeying for power in Montana, has become a hit series. The network was thrilled to pick this show up. They were leery at first, but after the first few weeks that it aired, they were so happy they instantly signed for a second season. They the network it's on is Spike. Um, its finale is coming up though. Sadly, I haven't actually got to watch it yet, but it's something I'm definitely going to look into after doing a little research on it. It looked like a pretty good series. Most series nowadays or TV shows are in New York, Atlanta, California. You really don't see a TV series in Montana, a farm, rural area where there's not really that much city. There's not big skyscrapers. There's not thousands of people. It's kind of more of just a old school classic at home mom and pop feeling, I think. Um, the show is about a family of ranchers in Montana that is trying to actually defend itself from that New York, that Atlanta, that California lifestyle where they're trying to fight off politicians, developers, and investors off these Indian reservations that they call their home. Um, and it's all shadowed in Yellowstone National Park, how it got the name, of course, Yellowstone. Um, the combination of the writer and director Taylor Sheridan of Sicario or Hell and High Water, or you might know him from Fight Club, and Kevin Costner, The Great Outdoors, compelling story really sets the tone for this generation of how things are different or have changed so much from 20 to 30 years ago, even 10 years ago. But it really shows how, compared to that city life, to the country life, there's really a huge difference going on out there. Um, I really think it's, like I was saying, important that this show did come out due to the fact that there's not really any shows that represent the West like that anymore. You got to watch Spike, but you got to catch those old school reruns of the shows our parents used to watch. Well, my parents at least, probably my dad and uncles when they were kids. And you just don't see that anymore. And most of those are even in black and white. So it's really going to be interesting to see how the second season turns out. The people that I know that have seen it have said they've loved it. They really like the family dynamic to the whole show. But I haven't got a chance to watch it. That's the plans for this week, to be able to actually inform you more of my opinion on the show. Along with that, though, we're going to move on to the next topic. So we're going to talk about some worldwide weather. It's crazy, all of the incidents that have been going on lately, from floods to wildfires. It blew my mind reading some of the articles online and what people were going through due to the fact that these natural events just occur and strike you out of the blue. So, one of the big ones that I saw was a dramatic video of this car driving through a national park in Montana. Not Yellowstone, but another national park. And literally, this car's got their camera going inside their car like a phone or something. and they're driving and trees are falling everywhere, branches on fire, flames just exploding. It is a wild video, and they're lucky. They found a boat because I guess they were somewhat near a river, is what it seemed like as the video showed, and they ended up finding some park rangers. They ditched their vehicle, and they said within 5 minutes of getting out of the vehicle, I believe, it was caught on fire and torched. And they were on a ferry going across the water. And this actually just happened on the 11th, so it's not super recent, but it's, I guess, yeah, 9 days ago, so about a week and a half ago. But it was one of the main stories that caught my eye because that's traumatic. That could be a life-changing event. If they didn't make it out of their car or a tree slammed on their car, they would have been in the weather news or the news in general for a whole nother reason. Really shows you the grace and luck of some people. It also shows you the tragic events that change people's lives forever. Along with that, I was watching another video this week, and I saw that we had discovered a World War II ship off the coast of Alaska that had parted off from the coast on a mission in 1943. Over 75 years ago, this ship departed, sank, or had a problem and sank, but something happened to the ship. I didn't find that in the article of what happened, but 75 years ago, 75 years later, I should say, they discovered the deep sea vessel and covered in moss and fish swimming all through it and corroded and all sorts of rust. And it's just crazy that I'm not sure if they found really any treasure per se, but they thought that the ship in general was a treasure due to the fact that they hadn't seen that ship or had any idea what happened. So now they're going to do more dives and attempt to figure out what's really going on or what might have actually caused the incident. I think it's an amazing find, but at the same time, it kind of makes me wonder, is the money that we spend in search of vessels like this or in search of old relics in the ocean worth what we spend? Like, do we make enough money back off all the money spent trying to find them, or are they all privatized dives, or I guess you want to say, or privatized ventures? Because even when you really think about it, even if they do find a ship with gold and treasures and crowns and silver, is it really worth anything? Because it's going to go into a museum. Unless it's a privatized party who finds it, then they might try to sell it. But, excuse me, usually I believe it's the government. So they're not really benefiting. They're more or less just spending money and finding history in the past, of course, and telling people a story, I guess. But in my eyes, I really don't know if that's kind of the best way we should be spending some of our money. But those are just my thoughts. This was my first podcast, guys, so don't critique me too much. Try not to hate too much. I hope you guys like it. I would gladly take suggestions on topics you maybe want to hear about, or sporting events you want to hear about, teams you want me to do some research on and debate about maybe, recipes maybe you guys like or have tried and thought were really good. I'll post those on here. I didn't add a text section to this podcast, but I do plan to do that next time. So maybe if you guys have some new video game you would like me to talk about, or a new phone, a new tablet, a new speaker system, TV, new program, really anything, I'm open to talk about anything on this podcast. That's PG, of course. I want everyone to be able to see this and learn or enjoy from it. So, saying that, I would also like to inform you guys that I do have a business with merchandise. As you can see here behind me on the wall, I've got some drawstring bags. I've got some t-shirt designs. Here's one, and here's the other. And I've also got, as you can see here, a pair of sunglasses. This is a more expensive pair. And then there is the cheaper pair with the plastic colored frames. And there's also stickers, hats, and I also have cup koozies for your sodas or adult beverages if you do consume. And my website, if you would be interested in checking that out, is CHIEF1N designs.com. But I think that'll do it for this first podcast, guys. It was great seeing you. Can't wait till next time.